You're listening to Impolite Society with Laura and Rachel.
Cause I'm a happy guy.
Because I'm a happy guy.
Welcome to the 21st century. Laura and I got a TikTok.
And that's all I watch is happy dog videos.
What else would you watch? So, welcome to 2021, year of the talk, and welcome to Impolite Society, the podcast where we dig into taboo topics by asking each other a rude question every week or every episode. How often do we do this?
Every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks. Every 2 weeks, a new episode. We are your hosts. My name is Rachel. Rachel. It is what it is. I didn't pick it.
I'm Laura.
AKA Pork Princess and Turd. We got our first cyber bullies. We made a YouTube station.
It was wonderful. He called us a turd. We loved it. Rachel shamed me for loving pork, the Pork Princess, on
I didn't come up with that.
Eating with a regular guy. Everything's coming up podcast roses, everyone.
Yeah, we're feeling really good. Our self-esteem is really high. This is how we like it.
Turd.
I have an interesting story where my self-esteem was also not as high as it could be. So I went to a wedding like just a weekend or two ago. And, you know, I was raring to go, been locked up for a year. I'm like, let me on the dance floor. I mean, it was great. I had a blast. The bar was open. Love was in the air. And the buffet was stacked. I don't even feel hungry by the time dinner comes around. But then they roll out this buffet of this delicious smelling food. And I'm like, fuck yeah, I want that. Load it up. Server wearing mask and rubber gloves and a hazmat suit. Just lay it on.
Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
They ask, how many rolls do you want? Is that even a question?
3.
How many?
All of them.
How many are you going to stack on there? That's the answer.
How many you got?
So I got that. And of course I load up on the bread and the pasta. And we go through it again. I mean, it's seconds. It's an all-you-eat buffet. That's what it's about.
Weddings should come with a vomitorium as far as I'm concerned. Like, give
truly.
me that food.
Exactly. And I mean, so after dinner, I'm already pushing my shapewear to its limits. And then dessert. And it was medieval punt cakes. And I'm like, oh my God, gimme, gimme, gimme. I had 2, no kidding, 2 back to back. Didn't even think about it. And I, at this point, throw in some beer from the open bar on top of that mix of food.
That stew.
Yeah, I'm feeling heavy, to say the least. And not gonna lie, it led to a little bit of trouble and awkwardness on the dance floor later that night.
Not grooving exactly the way that you wanted to while your full belly's getting in the way.
Let me say, my body was doing body rolls, but not the sexy kind. It was just kind of like...
Flop, 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 flop. Blech.
So then I have a confession.
Go.
This is not the first time I've eaten myself to this point.
What? Shocker. No one has ever done that before.
But, you know, this happens way more than it probably should. We even have a whole holiday that's literally just dedicated to stuffing ourselves.
I feel like we definitely have more than one of those holidays. You've got 4th of July, you've got Christmas, you've got Easter, of course you got Thanksgiving, which is solely dedicated, but I mean every single one of them really is about food.
But truly, Turkey Day is the day that's all about pounding as much as you can into your body.
I mean, really, it's like a Tuesday for me. It's like, really, that's the holiday.
Well, truly. Oh my gosh. Every day is a reason to celebrate, baby. But this leads me to my rude question. We've all been there. We've all eaten so much where we feel like we're at the point where we're going to burst. My rude question today: can I literally eat so much in one sitting that I kill myself, that my stomach bursts and I die?
I've definitely wondered this question myself. I think this is an awesome topic because as a frequent binge eater, this is something that has crossed my mind on several occasions.
I've known in my circles, aka my family, as somebody who can put away an inordinate amount of food. Like, I don't know, you ever been to the pasta house on all-you-can-eat spaghetti night? I knocked down 2 big plates and 1 little plate. And I'm like, people are shocked. They're just shocked. They don't, I could be a competitive eater. But it's not just me. Americans in general are eating more. In fact, our average caloric intake per day has increased 25% from 1961 to 2013. And I think, this might be just speculation, but I think it went up another 25% since
COVID.
the pandemic started.
Oh, yeah. COVID-19, the 19 pounds, that is completely legit.
And while we love chowing down and we have holidays around it and we all rely on it as an emotional support system during tough times, there's still a really big taboo around overeating.
Yeah, I really think that there is. I mean, I would love to do a whole podcast on binge eating and the shame associated with it.
There is a taboo around overeating. And that is most clearly summated, is that a word? Summarized? In the fact that one of the 7 deadly sins is gluttony. And if you are gluttonous, that could get you murdered, but the good news is that good old Missouri boy Brad Pitt will show up and I think solve the murder. I've never seen it. Does his wife's head get cut off?
His wife's head does get cut off. He does solve the murder, but the guy is
At
still
what
dead.
cost?
At what cost, indeed. And it is absolutely a 7th sin. And I remember having trouble with this when I was in grade school and learning about, the Catholicism and the 7 deadly sins. And I was like, I'm fat. Am I going to hell because I'm fat?
You and the rest of us, kiddo. We're all on the express train.
Oh, because we like to eat that food.
Eat that what?
Food.
Food. So, I mean, obviously, we're all about eating. We got celebrations around it, but there's still a taboo. So, what's the worst that can happen when you eat? Can you eat yourself to death? Literally the question that we're going to get into today, right after this quick break.
Hello, everybody. My name's Matt.
I'm Brent.
And we host ReviewParty.com, the only podcast that reviews internet reviews from Amazon, Yelp, Google, and all of the others.
I think we got a little clip to share.
This is a review from TrustedCaskets.com. James Ruffalo titles his review, Outstanding Quality. I suspect my dad will enjoy it. It's a rich mahogany casket, along the lines of what he requested. But it doesn't matter anyhow. He's not in a position to complain. Good job. 5 stars.
Your dad's dead, dude.
Hey,
Not
cracking
cool.
jokes.
Too soon. My love of the dedication to the bit is at odds with my love of living fathers.
Nothing quite like a living dad.
Night of the Living Dad. That's every night, I hope, for everyone out there. You can find ReviewParty.com wherever you listen to podcasts.
Every Tuesday Reviews Day and at ReviewParty.com.
You got links to all the episodes and all kinds of other fun stuff on there.
Join the party.
So, Laura, have you ever thought that you were going to die from overeating?
Not die, but I've definitely been like, oh, this is not good. This is bad. This is very, very bad. Most often at Mexican restaurants because...
Oh my God, the chips.
The chips, man. Just keep them coming.
I will eat myself sick on some chips every time.
100%.
Ugh. So, when it comes to eating, right? So, before we dive into the subject of whether we can actually die or not from overeating, I want to give us a little background information. I want to talk about some of the mechanics of what happens when we eat. And to do that, I want to start with the 3 major players on the stage of digestion.
I'm here for
and
it.
a lot of this comes from our queen, Mary Roach, who is author of the book Gulp and Stiff. And I found several articles of hers in the research of this, and she's got a new book coming out.
Ooh,
so
check
Mary
it out.
Roach. So the 3 major players in eating are, of course, our stomach, num 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 num, our esophagus, which is our canal that gets it to the tummy,
Glob, 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 glob.
and then third, the brain. What?
I feel like you're missing a crucial
Well, the mouth.
Yes, that's what I'm here for, is the chewing, the tasting, the textures in my mouth as I swallow it down. That's what I'm here for.
Well, okay, I maybe misset the stage. Not the major players in eating, but the major players in knowing you are full.
And breaking this shit down. Okay.
Yeah, and managing appetite.
Got it.
Because these three will all come back in to play when we talk about can we actually die or not from eating too much.
Got it.
So, our puppet master behind the scenes is your brain, right? So, this is the command central, like that movie Inside Out, poking all the buttons, getting things going. Is your brain secretly a slave to your stomach? Because they are connected by a string or a cable through the vagus nerve. Vagus nerve. Thank God you went to school and learned about the human body, because I know nothing about this. So this nerve is a hormone highway.
Hormone highway.
I know. I like alliteration. What can I say? It's the poor man's literary device. So the tum-tum, when it hits empty, when it's running on low, our insulin levels drop, and we get hit right in the hypothalamus theorem.
Hypothalamus.
The hypothalamus. We get a punch right there. And that's essentially, in layman's term, the deep part of our brain that regulates basic functions like hunger, thirst, and thirst, if you know what I'm saying.
Yo, sexy thirst.
Yeah, so it manages all that basic function. So when our tummy is empty...
The cave brain.
The cave brain. Yes. So when it's empty, it triggers that little section going, and that's when we get hit with this hormone called ghrelin, a.k.a. Wait, did I get it right?
I think so. I think it's ghrelin.
Ghrelin, don't get it wet after midnight or something like that.
Don't eat after midnight. Apparently, it's just a bad idea in general. Gremlins know the deal. Your ghrelin knows the deal. Just don't eat after midnight.
Don't do it. So this is what, because when it gets out and about, it stimulates our appetite, which we all know what fucking appetite is. Hello, you're talking to the pork princess.
Oh, she knows. Oh, she knows.
It'll never die. And that's just the saying, I'm going to translate what's happening here. Ready? Here it goes. Me want food.
Thanks, Jenna.
I love it. And that's when we want to eat. So when we start to chow down, we will eat until our fat tissues expel leptin. And this chemical tells our brain that we're full, ideally.
So this did not seem right to me because our fat tissues tell us when to stop eating. I feel like if that was the case, I get a lot of those fuckers, and I don't feel like they're telling me to stop.
They're saying, we want more. Give us little brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
Keep eating.
Yes. I feel like that's exactly what they're saying.
That could be one of the flaws, because there are quite a few flaws in this plan. Evolution, thank you. One of them being that it does not happen in real time. It's like, come on, body, get with the times.
I get to watch at least 3 episodes of 30 Rock before my brain realizes that I just jammed too many chips in my tum-tum.
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'd say the clock, the scientific clock, would say it takes up to 15 minutes for your tummy to really tell your brain that it's full.
That's why they're all like, eat slow, put your fork down.
Use chopsticks. I'm going to just dump it into my gullet. But it's also like, you're so close. Work on your communication. Come on, the proximity's there.
Yeah, and time goes by so fast, man. You can eat a lot in 15 minutes. I can eat a lot in 15 minutes. I'm not going to tell you how much.
Come on. Human body do better. That's the point there. Another major flaw is, who wants to listen to something as stupid as hormones? Food be tasty. And I'm not going to be bound to my physical form. My body is a cage. I'm in charge here, and I do what I want. And if I like how that tastes, I'm going to keep eating it. Give me the butt cakes. Bring on the bunts.
It's my hot body. I do what I want. Shut up, hormones. I will override your ass because it tastes too fucking good. This is why a lot of people criticize like the modern food industry for making things so sugar, salt, fat heavy. It's so good that it overrides everything that our bodies tell us that we should eat because we're like, no, I want it. I want it.
Living in a caveman paradise.
Yeah.
That's our modern world. I'm like, I'm going to eat all the strawberries I want. Strawberries are pretty good. They're like nature's candy. I still can't eat the volume of strawberries that I can of Oreos in one sitting because God might have made a strawberry, but humans made an Oreo.
It's water content is why you can't. And I can eat a shit ton of fruit. Anyway, that's a whole other story. I can eat a lot of fruit, but I would prefer the Oreos, yes.
Yes, because it's literally made for us. Designed by humans for humans.
Made for us, by us. They should put FUBU on the package of an Oreo.
Yeah, and Mother Nature ain't taking care of your shit like we are. We know what's up. We know what's up.
We know what you want, girl.
Girl, that's why you got that vibrator.
Damn straight.
For us, by us. That's how that works. The food goes in. We have these hormones that ticky-tock back and forth to each other that, in an ideal world say, enough's enough, time to be done. Cool it with the food. Inside of us, there's like these little hormones. Can you imagine? They're like, excuse me, I think it's time we should probably stop. No! And then the brain comes in. Tastes good! Inside all of us. Can you imagine? Oh my God. But that comes to the question, can your brain be so powerful that it overrides those little puny hormones and the physical capacity of our stomachs? We are confined to these physical beings as much as if our brain says, no, I'm not going to listen to you, I'm going to eat whatever I want. We're still confined to them. So, digging into the question, can you eat yourself to death? Probably not. And here's why. So there's several fail-safes for when a stomach becomes overfilled, like at a wedding or a Mexican restaurant, or when you're got 2 turkey legs in your hands and you're chowing down, talking about what you're grateful for.
So grateful for these 2 turkey legs.
As things escalate when we continue to overload our tummy, there's several steps. Step 1, code level yellow. The stretch receptors in your stomach say, oh, things are getting kind of tight here. Ideally, your brain's like, oh, then maybe I should stop shoving things down my mouth.
In an afternoon setting, I feel like I adhere to this. Now, talking like 10 o'clock at night, for some reason, I'm going right past level yellow.
Yes, you level yellow, get out of here. That's literally a snack. Level slightly less yellow, more orange. What would you call that? What's a yellow orange?
Ochre.
Level ochre. Oh gosh, this is good. It triggers a transient lower esophageal sphincter relaxation, aka the TLESR. A TLESR.
Tesla. It's
Yes.
Tesla. Tesla. Elon Musk is coming for our bellies.
Or if you want to call it like a normal human would, it's a burp.
Oh.
That's a fancy word for a burp.
That is a very fancy word for a burp.
It's a lot of words. Like, just call it a belch, a burp. And it actually serves a very important purpose. We've all belched after a heavy meal. And it's because our stomach is so stretched. It's like, we gotta make some room. So it vents. It relaxes, like it says, that lower esophageal sphincter. And it lets the gases out and up and out our mouths in a very charming way. And if you're very talented, you can actually capture this gas and use it to form every letter of the alphabet.
My baby, Charlotte, she'll eat half a bottle, have a burp, and then go right back
She's
at it.
making
I'm
room.
Like, you are my daughter.
Good for her. And that's so true because, like Charlotte, eating to that point, belching and making room is fucking child's play. So
Yeah,
we're on
truly.
level ochre, and
Blowing right past
like
it.
this is a typical weekend meal. That's
Oh, yeah.
fine. So now we get into true level orange, burnt sienna. Things are getting bad. This is when you transcend from just discomfort and belching to straight pain.
Okay.
And my least favorite feeling in the world, nausea.
Yeah. Somewhere between step 2 and step 3, somewhere between ochre and burnt sienna, I'm like, nope, I hate it because this feeling, this pain and nausea feeling is one of my least favorite feelings in the entire world. Though I have definitely been there many a times. It's one of my least favorite feelings.
It is. It's not fun. And this is about where I was on the dance floor. It's hard to get down to Little John's Get Low when you're in physical pain. I'll just say that. From the window
to the wall, to the barf runs down my chin,
to the bile builds up within. Oh, vom, 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 vom. Oh, matrimony vomitorium. When is that going to become the next wedding trend? Let's get that in Bride magazine. We're going to be rich. So once you cross from red, you get into the danger zone, which is level 4, red alert, flashing lights. Your body says, no, I physically cannot handle any more of this nonsense. We are vacating. And this is about time you're making your pilgrimage to pay homage at the porcelain altar, aka blow chunks. A healthy stomach will spew well before anything inside bursts, ruptures, or splits. You're pretty safe. So we're not even to the point where we're throwing up. If you
good to know.
Haven't eaten to the point that you're going to vomit, you're doing pretty good. You're not really in danger of eating so much that you eat yourself to death.
Okay, good to know.
So when would your belly burst, hypothetically? Typically, your tummy rummy, will rupture at 3 to 4 liters. Is liters a metric unit?
Yes.
I don't know how much 3 to 4 liters is, but I can tell you in American red, white, and blue bald eagles Statue of Liberty style, that is about a gallon.
I feel like that's not that much.
That's what they found from doing a study on cadavers. So a cadaver is not living. Duh. That's groundbreaking reporting right there. But a cadaver is not living in the fact that the food isn't moving through the digestive system.
Okay, it's not passing through to the small intestine.
Exactly. Your little escape hatch at the bottom is also moving stuff out, I think, within a certain amount of time. So that's helping. And also, when you're dead, you're a little bit stiffer. Yeah. There's not as much. Yeah. You have a little bit more flexibility when you're alive. And that's evident in the fact that competitive eaters regularly eat themselves past that limit.
You mean, or Laura regularly eats herself past that limit.
You do not eat more than a gallon of food in one sitting.
Maybe define a sitting. Is that like an hour?
Well, okay, maybe over the course of hours, maybe. I don't know what you do.
Yeah, I feel like over a party where there's like a free-for-all food table.
It's probably less than you think.
I don't know.
Also, what helps it stretch, too, with the cadavers is they're testing it with water, and they're pouring it down the throat so it goes fast. If you go slower, you can get a little bit more stretch, like when you're visiting the hors d'oeuvres, the horty d'oeuvres table, as we would say in the Midwest. The horty d'oeuvre table, if you're visiting it over and over again, you're going to get more capacity.
It's kind of like anal, you start with one finger and then you make your way to 2. And then, you can't start with the 3 fingers. You gotta.
Okay.
I'm just saying, you can't start with a dick. You gotta start, small.
I was not expecting that on tonight's conversation, but that's fair. That for any part of the digestive system, it can always make room. Room can be made.
I was listening to a podcast earlier about sex, and so that's what first came to mind.
Yeah, because when I think about gorging myself to the point of thinking I'm going to die, sex pops right in. It's the first thing I want to do.
I was thinking about making room, going slow. These are the things that you have to do when you're also preparing for...
Have you ever eaten so much that you're like, there's no way that anything else is fitting inside this thing
Literally
tonight.
On the other end.
Oh, I'm not even talking about anal sex. I'm just like, there's no more volume. Every inch of their inside is spoken for. Sorry. Try again later.
Try again later.
We're at capacity. No vacancy. I didn't think that would come up tonight, but that's good. I thought this was good, clean fun. Some vomiting, some full tummies. No, we're gonna sneak sex in the back door.
Oh, we're going to sneak some more food in the back door. That's what Laura's going to do.
You can't sneak food in your ass. That's not how eating works.
Says who? Says who?
I've heard of chugging beer in your ass, but not.
Yeah.
Just skips all the good parts.
I mean, if you stick an Oreo up there, you know, I bet that'll boost your insulin levels.
At what cost?
At what cost? And I'm just like imagining cookies and cream ice cream.
Just coming out like
A cookies and cream enema.
Where's the cream? What's the cream in this scenario?
I mean, it comes from an outside donor. That's the whole idea. She's scandalized, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm scandalized. I'm very reserved and demure. Thank you. Dear God. Some of this might be salvageable. I don't know what. Recenter.
Ooh.
Breathe, Laura. Breathe. So, while our stomachs are not going to explode, good news. Good news there. There's always exceptions to the rules. Nothing's ever 100%.
Of course there are exceptions to the rule, like when Kevin Spacey force feeds you at gunpoint until you die, and Brad Pitt has to come solve your murder.
Wait, Kevin Spacey was the murderer in that movie?
Yeah, he was.
Oh my God. He killed people in the movie, and he killed people's innocence and belief that you wouldn't get assaulted in showbiz.
I forgot about that. Oh, that's sad. Okay.
And he's dead now. It's fine.
Kevin Spacey is dead?
No, he's not, but he's dead to me.
I was like, holy shit, did I miss this?
His cultural relevance is dead.
Whatever, I will watch House of Cards season 1 till the freaking cows
Some people
come home.
tell me I look like that girl that got smoked by the train, and I'm like,
Oh, totally,
I don't
you totally
know how
do.
I feel about that.
You totally do look like her.
I don't know how I feel about that. Okay, so while it's not likely, there's always exceptions. And just because something's not normal doesn't mean it can't happen. When you take away our body's abilities to do what comes naturally, things are gonna go awry. And there's definitely instances where that has happened. Starting in 1891. The Gilded Age. Actually, I don't know if it's called the Gilded Age if it's in Sweden.
No, I don't think
Because
so.
this is happening in Stockholm, Sweden. A 52-year-old, I believe he was a cab driver, not super relevant, but he OD'd on opium. And as a result was taken to the hospital for some therapeutic gastric rinsing, aka they are pumping his stomach. So each time they filled the stomach, they kept noticing it held a little bit more water. Yeah, that's right. Homeboy had sprung a leak.
So, like, when they would put it in, like, less would come out?
They could just keep adding more and more.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, Jesus, right. So what happened? This guy, that pesky little drug called opium was actually preventing his body from performing that evacuation well. He's like kind of numb, not numb, but what's relaxed, paralyzed? You know,
Paralyzed?
it shuts your functions down. So because of that, he couldn't vomit. His stomach was becoming overstretched, and it literally sprung a leak.
Oh, jeez. From the
cleansing.
Man.
And he died.
Yeah.
They killed him by doing that.
Jeez.
He wasn't in a great state to begin with, but it actually, the doctors did studies and it changed how they treated flushing the stomach or pumping the stomach.
Well, he taught us a valuable lesson. Thank you for that, 50-year-old cab driver in Stockholm, Sweden. We appreciate your sacrifice.
Yeah, so it can happen when narcotics or something else is stopping the body or numbing the body from being able to do what it needs to do.
This reminds me of the time, you can probably cut this out, but I just want to tell the story. But my dad had colon cancer. They had to remove part of his colon, right? And you have to wait for peristalsis, I believe, for the colon to like restart before you can leave the hospital. He was in the hospital for a month, by the way. Yeah. Before it restarted.
So
he did not
long.
eat legitimate food for a month. He had to be IV fluid. But anyway, so after his surgery, they were testing the waters and they were kind of going to see what happens. And they're like, okay, well, I guess we'll order you lunch. By the time lunch came, he was so like distended in his stomach, they had to put an NG tube in where they like sucked all this shit out of his mouth. And so I've been at the hospital for like 12 hours. I'm sitting there eating his lunch, watching them shove an NG tube down his throat and take out the most like a liter of like vile, black-looking, disgusting shit out of his stomach. I'm sitting here eating a sandwich like, oh, that's gross. Nom, 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 nom. Oh, that's really nasty. Nom, 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 nom.
Well, you couldn't have let it go to waste.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my mentality, but also I was fucking hungry because I was there for forever. It was gross.
Wow. The human body, capable of such beauty and such disgustingness.
It was like black as midnight, man. Whatever came out of him, it was foul.
Wow. And that's, probably something like that inside of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. So another case where somebody did overeat to the point of death comes in the form of a 31-year-old psychologist from Florida.
Of course.
What a place to die. The heat really sinks in fast. I can't imagine the scene they stumbled upon. But she was found dead in her kitchen with her stomach very much distended. She had actually just returned. Oh, this hurts me in the heart. She had just returned from the emergency room where she had gotten her stomach pumped after eating pounds and pounds of hot dogs, crackers, and milk. So they cleared her out. She came home, and she instantly did the same thing.
Oh, geez, Louise. First of all, you're a psychologist, so you should know better. But as we all know, those who can't do teach, right? But also, if I'm going to die from overeating, God, I hope it's for something better than hot dogs and crackers. Ugh.
Yeah, because, girl, if you had told me I was going to die from wieners being shoved in my mouth, I would have a very different picture.
Whole different mental image.
Definitely. And it's just like, yeah, not for that. She literally stopped at the store on her way back and bought more.
Poor thing.
And then, you make fun, but
yeah, that makes
hurts.
me sad.
That
yeah,
hurts.
It just makes me sad.
As somebody who's had an iffy relation, we both have iffy relationships with food throughout our lives. It's just like
part of me gets it, and the other part is like, why?
yeah. Oh, same. So what happened in her case? It had not so much to do with the food. She literally did it earlier that day. What her fatal mistake was, and this is a very legitimate tale of caution, is the most dangerous thing you can eat during a binge like this is the last thing you eat. And that's not a thing about, not like the food, but what you do after you eat a lot and you feel uncomfortable. So she took bicarbonate of soda, aka baking soda, aka poor man's Alka-Seltzer. So she had literally in her shopping bag, as with the hot dogs and all the other junk, she had this just pure baking soda that she drank after. And everybody knows that when you mix baking soda and vinegar, what happens?
Boom, you make a volcano.
So if you put that into your acidic stomach,
yeah,
it makes a lot of gas. And that's what helps, right? It makes you belch. But in this case, they think that one of the chunks of hot dogs, because, oh my God, homegirl didn't even chew them very well. So they had big chunks of hot dogs. They think a chunk of hot dog got lodged and blocked her esophagus, so she wasn't able to burp. So then eventually her stomach just filled up with so much gas from the baking soda that it pushed her diaphragm up and asphyxiated her.
God.
So at least that's fast.
I don't think that was probably fast. I feel like that would be a slow...
minutes.
Slow suffocation, basically, because you can't breathe.
Yeah, but that's going to be better than this next woman, let me tell you. Because at least within minutes, you're gone, right? You're 5 to 6 minutes, right? Isn't that how long it would take? Probably.
Right.
You die after 3 minutes, you go unconscious, and then you're gone. But anyways, word to the wise, if you've eaten yourself where you're in the ochre zone, or maybe tiptoeing into the burnt sienna, drink some carbonated water or a soda or some white soda. Don't take baking soda because it's just too extreme.
Or just Alka-Seltzer. I feel like baking soda straight is a really extreme thing. Like, go with the Alka-Seltzer or go with the white soda. Do not go with just straight baking soda, and certainly not vinegar.
I don't
Jesus
know.
Christ.
Well, the vinegar is what you've already eaten. It's part of your like your stomach acid.
Oh, your gastric juices. Okay, I hear you.
Yeah. It's one of the stories I learned about for folks who died after taking baking soda or Alka-Seltzer, what a common denominator or something that came up several times, sauerkraut.
Oh, like pickled items.
Yeah, get the vinegar, you put the baking soda in,
Oh,
kaboom.
goodness.
Yeah, I'm not touching any of that stuff anymore. I'm sticking to A,
Oreos.
not overeating, LOL,
And
B,
Oreos.
drinking carbonated water.
Oreos.
What?
Sticking to Oreos.
Oreos.
No, don't binge eat on sauerkraut or pickles, everyone. What's your problem?
I'm only doing my Oreos anally these days. I just want an Oreo enema.
My vegan enema, which is made of Oreos.
That's the only kind. That's the only kind I take. Mash them up.
Put them up.
Get the cookies and cream going. Okay, here's our final tale of gore of somebody else who died from overeating. And this is a woman. She was young, poor sweet angel. She was 24.
Wow.
She's a model.
Yeah.
So you can already kind of imagine the way this is going to go. The year is 1985. And she comes into the hospital, stomach so distended, her innie belly button has become an outie.
So she's like pregnant, basically.
Looks pregnant, yes. Homegirl has eaten. Let me tell you. It sounds like the 12 Days of Christmas. Should I sing it?
Yeah.
1 pound of liver, 2 pounds of kidney, half pounds of steak, 1 pound of cheese, 2 eggs, 2 thick slices of bread, 1 cauliflower, 10 peaches, 4 pears, 2 apples, 4 bananas, 2 pounds of plum. And I'm not even done yet because on top of that, she had 2 glasses of milk. If you add that all up, that equals a grand total of 19 pounds of food.
So yeah, she was basically pregnant. And homegirl, I mean, I like organ meats, but you really went hard on the organ meats. This surprises me.
I mean, she knew what she was after.
Apparently.
But why only a 1/4 pound of steak? I would turn down the kidney and amp up the steak.
That's
if
what I was thinking. Yeah. I like organ
putting this
meats, and I'm
meal
still
together.
like, you need to flip-flop this.
We talked about how fast the first woman died. This woman was in the hospital for hours and hours because she didn't suffocate. Her stomach ruptured.
Yeah.
And what's in your stomach
No bueno. Yeah.
is a bunch of gross nastiness. And it leaked into her body, which made her septic. And then she died
Slow death.
from
yeah.
that
Yeah.
bacterial infection. Yeah, so she died after 12 hours.
I'm surprised it was 12. Honestly, I feel like it could have been a lot longer.
Which is just, oh my God, horrible to imagine.
Ugh.
And yeah, 24, just so young.
Poor thing.
And if you had to guess, what do you think these last 2 women had in common?
An eating disorder!
Ding, ding, ding. Both of these women who died suffered from bulimia, which not only does it like lead to binge eating and purging, and right, that's kind of the cornerstone of bulimia, but actually by doing that, it makes your stomach more brittle. So in return, more likely to rupture.
Do you know why that is?
Because the periods of going without, the stomach shrinks. So you'll see that as a World War II buff, you'll know this because...
Oh, at the concentration camps.
And when they came out, if they ate too much rich food or too much food at once, their stomachs would burst. People died of that after World War II.
Yeah, the concentration camp victims, they gave them food. They didn't know any better.
Yeah.
And they died. There's actually a heartbreaking scene about it in Band of Brothers. You should watch Band of Brothers.
It's on the list. And then this just begs a question. So these women are included in the list of people who ate themselves to death, right? And there's more. These are just kind of the ones that come to mind and have different kind of reasons. And like I said, tales of caution about how you can avoid eating yourself to death. But when it comes down to it, 2 out of 3, one obviously had a drug addiction, and the 2 others had a mental illness. So is it even fair to say that they died of overeating, or did they die of their mental illness?
I mean, it feels like suicide by food, honestly.
Well, truly, because if somebody does choose to kill themselves and they jump off of a building, we say that cause of death is suicide, not from colliding with the asphalt at a high speed.
Yeah.
That's not the cause of death. It's that they chose to do that. And yeah, it does just feel like they lost their battle.
Yeah. That's sad.
It is sad, and this is supposed to be a light podcast, but...
I guess this makes me take my late night binges a little bit more seriously. Maybe I should think about where this road leads.
We all could a little bit. So just because it isn't going to kill me, odds are, for like 99.999% of us, we're not going to eat ourselves to death because we have healthy bodies, we have healthy tummies. We're going to find ourselves vomiting way before we die. But I also wanted to know, if I overeat, am I setting myself up to continue to overeat in the future? Can binge eating make it so that my stomach is stretched and I can eat more the next time I decide I want to go ham on some ham?
I think that is a real question because I have certainly had this thought before. I was like, what am I doing to myself? Am I setting myself up for future failure on these times?
Well, I will say, in theory, you could be, right? Because there's definitely historical data that says that you can change your stomach's elasticity, right? We talked about the POWs and the women who suffered from bulimia having trouble, that affects their stomach, which could have led to their deaths and did lead to deaths after being released from or freed from concentration camps. On the flip side, you can technically train to have your stomach hold more. Competitive eaters do that all the time by drinking gallons of water. And fun history fact, King Louis XIV of France, aka the Sun King, after he died, he was a big gourmand, which is one of the few words I retained from my French class because I was like, yeah, that's me. It means lover of food.
Big fatso.
Yes. But anyways, Louis XIV loved to eat. It was said that after he died, his stomach, when they, I guess, were doing his autopsy, his stomach was twice the size of a normal human's.
Man after my own heart.
Truly, I wonder if that's what happened to me at some point as well. But in doing this study and learning about human anatomy, the ability to overeat has more to do with brain power than it does stomach capacity.
So your brain overrides your stomach to say more.
Yes. And that's a trend that comes up with the competitive eaters, where they can hold more in their stomach, but it doesn't necessarily affect them in the long run. And a quote from a very famous competitive eater says, all the willpower that it takes to say, stop eating when I've had enough, it takes way more to keep eating when my body says no.
Ugh.
Yeah.
That sounds distinctly unhealthy.
Yeah, so his brain is saying, like, I can stop myself from overeating on Thanksgiving because I can have control of my body to say, eat 1.5 pounds of hot dogs and water and buns.
Oh, jeez.
It has more to do with a brain telling us when and when not to eat than it does to actually, like, the holding capacity of our stomachs.
Interesting.
Because it also was found that stomach size is not correlated to overall body weight. So it's all about calories in versus calories out, as opposed to how much food can you eat in one sitting.
I guess I could see that, but my question is, there's a reason why gastric surgery works for people, right? They take their stomach down to the size of, like, a couple tablespoons?
Yeah, because that will work over a long term. There's people who can ideally be at a healthy weight and only eat one big meal a day, right? Because that big meal that they eat is the only calories they intake. And I think that that's a good example because I eat a lot in one sitting. We talked about that earlier. But I generally don't snack so much throughout the day. And I don't eat a lot of meals. I, at most, will eat 2 meals a day. I'm active on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like if you were just only seeing me when I'm eating my most, you would think, like, holy crap, this girl eats like no other. But it does equal out over time.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you said, comes into calories in versus calories out. So the amount of calories you can eat in one sitting, maybe your stomach can hold a lot, but if it uses that over a 24-hour period, then you're leveling out.
Exactly. Yeah. So people assume people who are heavier have bigger stomachs, but that's not all the case. Because somebody who just consistently eats throughout the day, they could be at a higher BMI, but just never sit down and have like a gorgy meal.
I don't know anything about that. I'm a grazer.
I think we all learned about that during COVID because suddenly our kitchens were there all day, every day. It makes a difference.
Yeah.
So that wraps up the research I did. You probably can't eat yourself to death, but there are lots of interesting things when it comes to our stomach size, and our approach to food. And I think that surprise player in the equation, the brain, has a lot to do with that. And we will come back to that when we get into our musing section.
All right. So why do we think that overeating is seen as a taboo?
You know, I had two schools of thought on this. The first comes from a scarcity model. When we are cave people, food is scarce. It's limited. You know, when somebody sits down and pigs out and eats more than their quote-unquote fair share, that would rub a lot of your cave comrades the wrong way.
I think it probably comes from that 7 deadly sins. Maybe those two are kind of the same thing. Because as we've discussed previously, nobody likes that person who takes the last piece of pizza. Even without a scarcity model, we don't want to be taken away. And that makes me think of when I was in grade school and they talked about the 7 deadly sins in gluttony. One of the examples they gave was, if there's so many pieces of pizza and you take another slice before somebody else does, that is gluttony. It's like that hoarding mentality. Less so than if there's plenty for everybody and you eat more than, maybe you should, maybe that's not so much of a concern. It's the taking away from others.
From somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think that that's where it comes from. But on the flip side, I think in our modern society, nothing is scarce anymore. You know, for us as comfortable middle-class Americans, we have access to as much food as we need whenever we need it. We're hard-pressed to ever be in a situation where we can't go out and get food.
Yeah.
It could be 3 a.m. I can go down the street to my 24-hour grocer and I can get food. So then why does that mindset still apply? And I think it comes from when the pendulum swings too far the other way. So suddenly we're not worried about somebody taking we're all still a little bit worried about someone taking my food. That's why I don't share my food.
Don't take that share.
Funny story. So my husband and I will make a frozen pizza and he gets his set amount, which is 2/3, and then I get 1/3. And then one time I gave him part of my share of the pizza.
You're watching it the whole time you motherfucker.
No, I'm looking at him and he literally doesn't finish. And he starts to give it to the goddamn dog. And I was like, whoa. Okay, I was giving it to you to be nice. If you don't want it, it goes to me before the dog.
By default.
Yeah, that's my pizza.
That would make me mad too.
And even in a world where I literally I've never been hungry. I've never wanted for food. I'm worried where my next meal comes from. I'm still possessive. I'm very possessive of food. I'm food aggressive. I would get put down in the shelter. I would not make it. They would not be able to find me a home. But I think that then flips, the pendulum swings the other way where there's so much. We start to judge people for not having self-control. So it goes from the thing's still there. You don't have control of yourself to share with others. But then it flips to the other side where it's just that's not good for you. You know that you've had enough, but you still can't stop yourself. And that becomes a weakness.
Yeah, that tracks for me because I often think that same thing about myself. It's just God, you should know better. You should be able to control yourself better. And there's definitely shame associated with that. And so, yeah, I don't blame people for judging me for it because I judge myself for it.
Well, and exactly. And that's what comes down to my next question is I feel like I overeat all the time. And I mean, there's no doubt that I overeat to the point where my physically uncomfortable. That has happened. But I've never had to throw up because I've eaten so much. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of times where we feel very uncomfortable after eating, it might not be so physically driven. And that begs the question, is the discomfort that we feel after overeating, is it strictly physical, or is it because we have violated that taboo?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's definitely not a good feeling. I mean, that's why you're on the dance floor, not feeling good. But on top of that physical feeling is that shame or that thought of like, God, you should have known better. Why did you do this to yourself? That berating yourself, it puts you in a bad place physically and a bad place emotionally at the same time, which just all comes together to just everyone's feeling no bueno.
Truly. And when it comes down to it, though, am I as physically uncomfortable as I think I am? Or am I just hitting that code orange, right? Where my stomach's like, stop it. Really stop it. And maybe tiptoeing into that ochre situation. Is it then my mind compounds that? So how much does our brain, that puppet master, well, my brain's pretty much a puppet to the stomach, I will say. But how much is that secret person behind the scenes, how much does the brain play in versus if you're going to say the discomfort that you feel after binge eating on a typical binge eating day, like not Thanksgiving, because we all put more than we should in our bellies on Thanksgiving, but in a typical, weekend or time that you feel like you ate too much, if you're going to give a percentage to it, how much is brain versus how much is physical limits?
I would say maybe like 40-60, so 40% brain, 60% physical. Okay. That would be my split.
My head goes to the fact that my brain's probably more involved in it than it should be, because we looked at that data and we looked at the scientific facts, and your stomach and your lower intestines starts moving stuff on pretty quickly. So when I'm uncomfortable, when I've eaten myself to the point of discomfort, with belching and starting to digest, that should clear out somewhat quickly, but the guilt lingers and the discomfort lingers for hours and hours.
I feel like this also might be down to the way the food affects your body, because though you can't gain 5 pounds in fat overnight from eating something, you can gain 5 pounds in water weight and like inflammation. There's research on like sugar and salt and about what it does to your body. I mean, I feel like I could look in the mirror and be like, girl, you need to cut back. And it's not necessarily fat, it's that bloat. And so I feel like maybe that discomfort is not strictly just coming from your stomach and it's like stretchiness, but also just from like whatever else is going on in the metabolization.
Metabolicization.
There you go. Yeah, whatever that is. That is partly where the discomfort comes from, especially hours after your stomach has shrunk down to its like normalish size, but you've got other things going on there as your body uses all of this shit that it's shoved inside of it.
And I think that is such a good point and so fair, because this episode wasn't about nutrition, and I have no idea how salt and sodium and all that stuff works, but I could take a very educated guess that a wedding buffet is going to be very high in salt and sodium.
You would be correct.
Give me a degree. Actually, do they even give degrees for nutritionists anymore, or do they just give them Instagrams?
That you have graduated. Here is your Instagram account. Go on and tell people how to live their lives and how to feel shitty about themselves.
That's how it works. So
Exactly.
All of this compounding. So yes, I think that what kind of food plays a difference. How much you eat, you do feel physical discomfort, but I think your brain plays a role in there too. And it had me thinking the discomfort, the physical discomfort amplified by your mental anguish over breaking a taboo. Is this just like the food version of slut shaming? Just trying to keep us in our place and keep us from breaking the taboo or punishing us for doing something that is deemed wrong by society?
That's a good question. I mean, it's definitely shaming. I don't know if it's a version of slut shaming. I just think it's just generally like everyone should know better. I should know not to eat fucking the whole tub of Ben and Jerry's. And I'm sitting there like, God, I should know better. I don't know. Is this how girls feel after they've had sex with 5 guys? Do they sit there like, oh,
With
God, I
5
shouldn't have
guys
done
at
that?
once? 5 guys over a time frame? What is
I don't know.
total? That's not that many total.
No, not total. Like in your lifetime, no, 5 isn't anything. But I don't know, go 5 guys in one night. Are they sitting there like, oh God, I shouldn't have done that? I blah, 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 blah. But I don't know. I think it's just a version of shame, and that comes in so many different packages. Food shaming, slut shaming. I don't know what other like things we could put on there, but I feel like just shame is such a pervasive thing in our society.
Oh, definitely. It's what keeps us in line, right? Shame is what's used. But is there anything morally wrong, even with eating the Ben & Jerry's, with eating more than you should at a wedding? There's nothing inherently morally wrong with that, yet we feel shame about it.
Yeah. I think it comes down to norms, you know. My mindset is often like normal people don't do this. That's like where my brain goes. I don't know what normal is.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's definitely something that you were taught because normal people do everything. We eat the whole pint of Ben & Jerry's. We have that 3rd or 4th glass of wine. We overeat when we're having a good time and wanting to just relax and unwind.
Well, then maybe it is then the discomfort that comes from it. Because that extra glass of wine, you know, the next day you're like, oh, fucking hell.
Well,
you
in
know
that
what
case,
I mean?
there's like real physical consequences.
Well, eating has real physical consequences. You know, you don't feel great. You feel distended. You feel bloated. You feel lethargic. You know what I mean? Like, these are all real physical consequences that we're feeling. The slut shaming, I feel like, is probably more
physical
social
consequences. You could have your cookies and cream coming out, and that's not comfortable.
Little chat down below.
You can have the physical things. Maybe it's because I was raised Catholic, but the guilt is always there. And I think that whether that's from overeating, over drinking, or oversexing, not anymore because it's legal in the eyes of God. Thank you, holy matrimony. I can go to my priest and be like, yeah, I fuck. What about
it? Nothing.
You can't
He blessed this
you
shit.
can't even do anything, you know?
Yeah, he really can't do anything.
What have you been up to, Father? Nothing.
We hope nothing.
I hope nothing. Well, as long as it's with a consenting adult, I say more power to you. But
hey, teacher, leave them kids alone.
Hey, preacher, leave those boys alone.
Yeah, really. Oh. How do we end up back in pedophiles?
It always comes back to sodomy. Dear God. When you hear the word sodomy, I think that's time for us to wrap this up. Which you should also do if you're doing sodomy because it's more likely for tearing. And if you don't have exclusivity with your sexual partner, I would say wrap it up.
So that's what we're going to do here right now. We are going to wrap this shit up. We're going to put on our prophylactic and end this podcast.
So thank you so much for listening. You can get more rude content on all of our socials.
TikTok.
Yes. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Am I missing anything?
No, or you can visit us at impolitesocietypodcast.com
and send us your rude questions on the website or by emailing us at rude@impolitesocietypodcast.com.
We want to hear from you. We might feature it on a Fan Friday episode.
Yes, because we only apparently talk about food and sex. That's our perspective on the world, and we love it.
We're just a bunch of apes, food and sex.
But I mean, there's other people who have other rude questions. And as always, download, rate, and review. We are two nobodies trying to make it in a world of podcasts, of so many podcasts, mountains of podcasts.
What do I hear?
We got drums.
There they are.
Well, it's been great. It's been real. I'm going to go work on a pint of Ben & Jerry's myself.
I have Halo Top, so I'm going to work on that pint of Halo Top.
Oh, you skinny bitch.
Whatever. I'm going to eat the whole
Halo
fucking
Top?
thing. I'm going to eat the whole fucking thing.
Bye. Matrimonia Vomitorium.